If you are one of those people in the world that care for your own health for the right reasons, that you want to be able to live longer and live a healthier life, this is a session you want to listen to. The purpose of my life is to save lives, and I say that with all sincerity. When I have traveled around the world, I've seen quite a bit of suffering among people of all backgrounds, of all age groups, across all countries. And a lot of those suffering is a suffering based on our current lifestyle and the diet that people follow. The health we have is the health we deserve. It's not the health we want. Throughout the history of mankind, you'll notice that people who achieve things, people who go from point A to point B, they have something different. And that difference is the habit or the ritual. Once you change your ritual, once you change your habit, so for example, you want to be a marathon runner and you don't like running. Just think about it. I don't think so that is a feasible goal to achieve. But if you want to be a marathon runner and you have never run before, but you say that I'm going to give it a shot, and you start by putting on your tennis shoes and you start running 1 mile. Initially, you go on to increase 2 miles, 3 miles, 5 miles. You start to take care of your health. You start to take care of your mind. Eventually, there will be a day where you will be able to do the marathon. And similarly, in any other aspect of your life, it is how your psychology changes. It's how you start to think about what should I be doing. When you change your habit, when you wake up in the morning, what do? Are you looking at your Facebook and or your emails and friends and LinkedIn, or you're getting up, have your tennis ready the night before, you have your water ready, you have your breathing done, you're out the door, you finish your workout, you come back, you do some meditation, and you do something that you are grateful for. Once you start to change those rituals, you will see how things change. What I am really keen on is making sure you have an outstanding health. Every single day, you have an outstanding health, outstanding state of mind, so that you can do what you need to do in the world for yourself and others. So you wonder why I am so keen on this. Why do I care? A real fulfillment in life really comes when you go out and do things for others. Just by doing things for ourselves, in my mind, it doesn't satisfy. It's not fulfilling. So for me, when I see suffering, I don't want to see people suffer. And once your health and physiology is right, then I think your imagination is the only limit that what you can do in your life. The issue of health is not rocket science. From the science that I understand, from the science that I've read, to have an optimal health, it's a very simple thing. And one of the things I learned was from this very book, The China Study, by Dr. T. Colin Campbell. This was the very first book I read when I started looking into how can I even better my health than where I was already. And that reading helped me understand, through the largest nutritional study ever done in the world, comprehensive study ever done in the world, to see relationship between nutrition and diet. And what I understood, that a food that is consumed that's based on whole plant-based and whole grain, with 30-40 minutes of sun at the right UV level, and movement and B12 and vitamin D, is all generally most of us need to have an outstanding health. You will study about how Dr. Colin Campbell and the two researchers in India in the 60s found that by simply changing the level of protein they were giving to the rat, they were able to change the cancer cells, number of cancer cells, reverse it, slow it down. First time proving that even if you have cancer, you can reverse it or slow it down. A researcher at UC Irvine, she clearly demonstrated when we change our lifestyle and diet, it changes the expression of the genes. Whether something good is expressed by changing our lifestyle to a better, healthier lifestyle, and the bad expression of the gene is suppressed. So what's that telling us is, it's not that we can disregard genes, but this notion that we are predisposed and that our history is, our lifestyle and our whole history, the rest of our life is defined for us, that's not true. Your past is not your future, and so is your genes is not your future based on what happened in your family. That does not mean you're going to have that if you change. Now, she got a Nobel Prize for this. When I first moved to Atlanta, Georgia, my annual assessment when I did my cholesterol levels were about 115. And all other numbers, triglycerides and HDL and LDL, were all at a really good numbers. And at that time also, I used to run about 8 to 10 miles every other day and was eating pretty much whole plant-based food, but I did eat egg at the time. And at that point, I was doing well. And then in 98, 99, I began traveling globally. And in that process, again, I generally tried to eat very healthy in most countries. However, I did eat out at the time. Things were still pretty good. But then in 2009, when I started to prepare for my very first marathon, when I went for my annual assessment, that year my cholesterol shot up to 235. So I was very concerned as to how that happened. I went to the doctor, and the doctor basically said, hey, here is a prescription for Lipitor, and I think he had asked for vitamin D. Idea of having medication to reduce my cholesterol level was not acceptable to me, because I knew that it is about the dietary factors. So I literally told the doctor that respectfully, you're not doing your job, and you have not asked me any qualifying questions such as what is my lifestyle, do I sleep enough, do I run, do I exercise, do I eat well, what do I eat, do I drink water, do I laugh, do I joke, things that I do I enjoy doing them. So at the same time, literally I went to Lima, Peru for 1 year, and when I arrived there, I sat down in my hotel room and I wrote down everything new that I added to my diet in the last 6 months. And the one thing that popped out was the protein bar that I started to eat. I took all of the protein bar out of my diet. And the next thing I did was I took out all oil from my cooking. And I kept the rest of the stuff in my life similar. I continued my exercise, I continued the sleeping pattern, I did my job. I did everything else similar to what I did before. 6 months, I went back to the doctor, my cholesterol was 160. So I went from 235 to 160 in 6 months by doing nothing but changing 2 things in my life. The whole moral of that story for everybody out there is it's just not for cholesterol. You have other issues, health issues, whether it's osteoporosis or it's an issue with breast cancer. Many of these diseases, chronic disease that people are dying from today. The answer lies in lifestyle and in your habits. That does not mean I'm not suggesting you don't go to your doctor. I'm not suggesting you don't take advice from them. But what I'm suggesting is you have to become the CEO of your own health. You have to take that lead. How often do you see a doctor? Most people see a doctor for 30 minutes to an hour in a year. How can you hold a doctor responsible for your health when you are the one running your show? You eat what you eat. You do what you do in your life every day. How can you then hold a doctor or a medical establishment? So what I want all of you to understand is that your future in terms of health is really in your hands. What you can do about it is very simple. There are many ways to get to that goal. One of the ways that I can offer is called the Complete Health Improvement Program. In short, CHIP. CHIP was started by Dr. Hansdale, who used to work with Nathan Prutkin, who started many years ago. He was an engineer, and he really started to look into lifestyle medicine because of his own cholesterol problems. And he helped solve that problem for himself by changing his lifestyle and diet. And then he had several other people who volunteered as part of his program. In fact, one of the person that we know very well about is Dr. Michael Greger. He wrote a very famous book recently called How Not to Die. And in that he chronicled his grandmother's journey, where he talked about the fact that his grandmother had several severe health issues and most doctors had given up on her by in her 60s. She went to Nathan Fredkin's center where she volunteered, and through the help she got, she lived up to 97. CHIP is a program designed for lifestyle intervention. It is not a diet program. It is not a program where you just come for 2 days and you learn and you go home and you do whatever. What we are after is changing your habits and rituals and behavior. The class that I will be offering will be about 9 weeks long. We'll be meeting once a week, every week, continuously for 9 weeks. And in that 9 weeks, we are going to start off by taking your medical background. You will go through a blood test. We'll take your lipid profile. We'll take a fasting blood glucose level so we know where your sugar levels are. And then you will write your own health assessment so we can understand what is your baseline, where are you starting from. And then from the class 1, in the very first class, we'll talk about what are some common denominators that are common to all the chronic disease today that an average person is dying in America, or actually it's a global trend now. So we need to understand what are some common denominators and how we can identify those and how we can tackle those. And from the second class onwards, we will start to focus on some very specific things: cancer, heart attack, osteoporosis, breast cancer, so on and so forth. And then towards the end of the class, we'll talk about your forgiveness. How that changes your life. Exercise. For example, food density. Why does it matter if you take a chocolate versus a carrot? So if you eat a chocolate, an average chocolate, it may require you to run for 30 minutes to 40 minutes to burn that off. Whereas if you eat a carrot, same calories, you can burn that off in 10 minutes. So understanding those are very, very critical for your long-term health. And then we will end the class obviously taking another blood profile test and your blood glucose level, so you can see for yourself that in a short 9 weeks, if you do everything that we teach you, then you will see the results. And then just it's left to your imagination. We hope that you'll continue this for the rest of your life so that you can benefit from the health, and that once you have your health, once you regain your health, which is your true wealth, that you can simply continue to do this and share this with others. CHIP is a community-based program. So CHIP can be held at a community center. We can also do it at the corporate center. So if your company is interested, we do that class at the company level. We can also do this class for the medical staff. And one of the best things about medical staff is that you also get 18 credits towards your continuing education. This is my hope for you: an outstanding health, a life full of vitality and fun and flavor and imagination to do whatever it is that you want to do in your life. We can solve 80 to 90% of chronic disease with what we know through food and diet. We know this, science is solid about it.